In a video called Hierarchy of War, Binladens Evil Bastards, I've set out the hierarchy of the structure of our society. There is feudalistic crime families at the top, the demos, which includes the politicians, and the central bankers, and also the democratically elected Western people and the electorate themselves. The demos is what we think runs things, but often it does not. The 9/11 proved this to be a fact. But there is also forces against the Bin Ladens, such as the university systems, which are fighting hard against them. But we must look at other crime families and see where they fit in the hierarchy of crime. And let's look at the three main best known ones: the Sicilian Mafia, the Colombian and Mexican drug cartels, and the Taliban and drug producers in Afghanistan. Now, of course, the Taliban are recruited as mercenaries through the Al-Qaeda franchise of the Bin Ladens, who are affiliates of the Bin Laden crime family, who are at the top of the peak of the criminal underworld, or overworld, shall I say, and governments have to do their bidding. You should, if you're very interested in this, you should read a book by Jeffrey Robinson called The Sink. It will absolutely blow your mind. It shows how terrorists force banks to do their bidding and force them to take on drug money, oil money, and there's little that we can do to stop them. In fact, I can say that the Bin Laden crime family is more powerful than most governments, maybe even more powerful than the United States government, in its ability to affect the course of events. And that's the crucial factor here. Now, in Mexico, the Mexicans may be fighting a losing war by the death toll rate, which is about 50,000 a year, the same as another country that's been taken over by a crime organisation, the ANC in South Africa, where there's a similar death toll of 50,000 a year, which is higher than the death toll in Iraq. So we can say that the Americans and Iranians are doing a better job of running Iraq than, and the Iraqis are doing a better job, which of course it's their country, than the ANC is in a supposedly peacetime system. Well, the Mexicans have chosen to develop a strategy of tension whereby they crack down on selected cartels to try and take out the top leaders. This might be seen as an anti-terrorism strategy, but what it is doing is raising the level of violence and raising the amount of the drug price, which will in fact encourage more people to get into the drugs trade. That is an economics point of view. But what it will do is raise the body count and what the Mexican government is trying to do is trying to get the Mexican cartels to all fight one another to do the job for them, for the Mexican government, so that they don't have to get involved. Because if the cartels were united, they could in effect take over the Mexican government. And they've already tried. There's already been people in the Mexican cabinet who have been accused of being in collusion with the Mexican Mafia cartels. Well, there is no overall commander as yet to the Mexican cartels. Arguably, the old system in Sicily of the Corsica, the clans, with each taking a specific role in the development, in say that one mafia clan would take over the production of water so that the price did not fall, or that new irrigation systems created by the EU or the Italian government couldn't be put in place, so make the price fall. So therefore they would have a monopoly in that area. Another crime faction, the famous Corleone crime faction, which is a real crime faction in Sicily, the Corleonesi. They hold sway over politicians in Rome and they've in fact killed Prime Minister Andreotti in the 70s. Through, if you've seen a series called Gladio on on one of my playlists, it's by the BBC, and it shows how the Mafia even penetrated NATO and set different fascist and communist groups against one another to destabilise Italy, so that the Mafia could take over Italy. That was the plan anyway, and they penetrated right into NATO's intelligence organisation. Now the Mafia in America has been well and truly smashed by the FBI. People who used to be billionaires can't get restaurant seats, and the people in America who call themselves mafioso are mostly just people who are actors. They act up into the image. But the people in Sicily, they are real mafia. They are the real terrorists. They killed Judge Falcone with a shape-charged bomb under a bridge. They've assassinated Italian intelligence officers. They've just recently killed an Italian mayor. And his family may disappear over the next coming few years. Let's hope that they do not. Another crime organisation which people are not quite fully aware of, and they should be, is the sophistication of the drugs trade and the financial crime trade in Nigeria, whereas the forensic investigator there has just been killed off. Another major crime organisation is the Russian Mafia. They have their own weapons factories, crying out loud, and they own over 25% of the Russian economy. There's more and more evidence that the Colombian drug cartels and the French connection, who are linked to allied to the Sicilian Mafia, and even to crime families in Britain, and the Sicilian Mafia themselves, and the Russian Mafia are all working together, as this was proven by a summit that was held between them and Gorbachev during the Cold War, as to decide what would the fate be of the Russian and European and American underworlds. That was done through the unions in Sicily. Now, what leaves the top dogs of the crime world at the moment? The Binladens. They were outlawed by the international system for 9/11, but they did it because they thought that they were so powerful and that they were so secure in their power that they could do that operation. They were proved wrong, and it was a major mistake for them because they lost the blanket of security and the blanket of secrecy. But there are other crime families. They did not do 9/11, those crime families, but they do exist, and they are not just in the Middle East. They're spread all throughout the world. There are billions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of people working for each of these families, and they do have a major influence on the world. We can only hope that the demos and the university system, which trains the leaders of the democratic system, can produce leaders with enough strength and enough intellect and enough morals. We can't ask for a Thomas Jefferson, or perhaps we should do, but we can at least ask for a glorious democracy that can fight back and put these evil bastards where they belong, 6 feet under. And to do this, we need a system that does not encourage any economic links with them. There are no construction companies, no oil funds should be washed through the banking system. And to do this, we need to shut down the Federal Reserve System, which is creating these bubbles of dollars which are being then exported from America's inflation into the oil system and into the housing system, which allows oil companies, drug manufacturers, and construction companies to have these bubbles and have a market for their goods. Now, oil and drugs is the most dirty business, but we are complicit in the oil trade, and we need to get off of oil and into clean energy. That is one way to defeat terrorism. Thank you for listening.